And tonight on our Great American panel, he's the president and executive director of the New York Civil Rights Coalition, the one and only, the famous, infamous Mike Myers is back. She was a former spokeswoman for the House Republican Conference. Currently the executive director of Public Notice, Gretchen Hamel's back. He is the president of Penn Financial Group, author of The Next Great Bull Market. You know, the one that's coming, a business expert, Matt McCall. All right, Solyndra, Secretary Chu testifies, and let's roll some of that tape.
The loan guarantee to Solyndra was subject to proper, rigorous scrutiny and healthy debate during every phase of the process. As the Secretary of Energy, the final decisions on Solyndra were mine, and I made them with the best interests of the taxpayer in mind. And I want to be clear. Over the course of Solyndra's loan guarantee, I did not make any decision based on political considerations.
Nah, just like Solyndra executives were told, don't fire people till after the election. So big bundlers buy big access. They get, in this case, $535 million. Other cases, billions of taxpayer dollars. They bought it, didn't they? They bought the influence. They got the money as payback.
Absolutely. I mean, if you have the more money you have, the more money you can make, people say a lot of times. So they have money to get the lobbyists in there, and they got the loan guaranteed from the government. And to say this wasn't a political movement kind of blows my mind, because you think about it, what is this administration pushing? Green, green, green. You're pushing Solyndra. You look at any solar stock out there, they've been getting crushed the last couple of years. People don't want solar on the roofs right now. It's not feasible. It's not something that people are going to put on there.
We've taken this money and we poured it down the drain, and the people got it because they're close to Obama and they raise money for Obama's campaign.
Crony capitalism is one of the biggest problems right now in Washington. It has created most of the economic problems we have, the crushing debt burden. It's just one of those things that, and I believe this is really what the Occupy Wall Street movement is misguided. This is what they need to be talking about. They need to be going after crony capitalists.
Well, it's also interesting that all of this for a $500 million photo op on the part of President Obama. Now, I have a question about the Secretary, though. Was he under oath? You know, it's like he reminded me of the Attorney General of the United States when he goes to Congress and lies and deceives. But everything about the Obama administration, in my judgment, is political and politicized, including the Department of Double Standards, double justice.
But why, how is it all these people raise money, they bought the access, they got the money's wasted. He says due diligence. Are you kidding me? The honest debate? No, they were told the month and the year that it was going to go bankrupt. The first time the government ever predicted anything accurately.
But the point is that we understand what they're doing. This is double talk. This is deception. And they believe them. They believe their own rhetoric, but the American people do not. And I hope and trust that the Congress does not.
Well, the American people, I think, they look at this as the government's trying to do something good because they're pushing this green initiative, where if you give a struggling financial, which actually employs a lot of people and keeps our economic system running, it's bad to give them money.
Yeah, but think about this. We give money to a car company, an electric car company in Finland.
Yes.
We tell Brazil, we're going to give you money to drill, and we'll be your best customer.
Yeah.
But we won't drill here.
Yeah.
You know, but the president wants us to inflate our tires and get tune-ups to get better gas mileage.
I mean, government intervention isn't working. The government needs to get out of the business of doing business.
Of giving.
Because it continues.
Of giving.
Of giving. Yes, of giving business and trying to be in business. Because that's not what the government should be doing. And it continues to make bad decisions, and bad decisions that are going to be at the cost of taxpayers and cost of future generations.
But there's corruption here. And that is that they were warned that this was going to happen. Yep. They did it anyway. The week before the money was, this was denied by the Bush administration as they were leaving. Yeah. They forced this through, as they did with SunPower and a bunch of other companies, all big supporters of the president, big bundlers. So the question is, now that the taxpayer are on the hook, where's the anger? There's so much anger out there about rich people and about Wall Street and about...
Well, isn't that ironic? Because it's not corruption when you're in power. You know, it's only corruption when you're out of power and somebody else who decides they want to prosecute.
Well, insider trading is legal for congressmen and women. That are writing legislation.
And the government made money off the money that they lent the major banks. They actually made money on that. So they're putting $535 million and losing money on a company that never should have got money, but they bailed out our economic system and they made money on investing in our finances.
You really think we're going to have a new bull market?
I do.
Based on the size of that watch you got out, are those real diamonds on this thing?
Yeah, of course not.
Let me see.
Put that watch on TV.
So, other than the watch,
what kind of watch is that?
I don't have jewelry on like that.
Swiss watch. No, what kind?
Krieger. It's a Swiss.
Oh yeah, Swiss. I knew that. Sure. Okay. We're going to come back. We're going to ask about the Gingrich rise, and we're going to talk about a little bit about Occupy Wall Street as we continue. Mike Myers is dying to speak. He has so much more insight to bestow on us. More with our Great American panel straight ahead. Great American panel. Michael Myers just came in. He was hanging out with the Occupy Wall Street crowd.
That's right, teaching them about what the First Amendment really means.
What is that?
Well, Brad Bloomberg blew it. He should have had a teachable moment. He should have told them what the First Amendment really does and what it doesn't do. First Amendment does not protect encampments. The First Amendment gives you the right to free speech, including anti-Semitism.
What Rudy said from day one. No one sleeps in the park.
Which means we understand what they are, because we make a judgment based on their free speech. But also the First Amendment does not allow you to sit down in a public park and take it over. The First Amendment has restrictions, limitations, time, place, and manner.
You can't have sex in public? You can't masturbate in public? You can't walk around naked? You can't do drugs in public?
That's the problem I said about Bloomberg, who was double talking with respect to the First Amendment, because he was talking about their First Amendment rights, and then in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. he goes in the next day without telling them that I've changed my mind.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Well, when it comes to Occupy Wall Street, I really think it's misguided. It's misdirected. They are hating the player instead of hating the game. And the game is what Washington has created. It's the system that Washington has created.
Good point.
To actually reward friends and give favors. And that 1%, it's about the makers and the takers. And it's about people who are profiting at other people's cost.
Why did the president, and what is the political fallout for the president and Pelosi and the Democratic Party? I think Obama has inspired them with his, class warfare rhetoric.
I think the fallout is actually going to hurt him, because we're seeing the numbers already in the polls that the average American is not backing this Occupy Wall Street as much as they were a month ago. And I think it's going to continue to fall, because think about today in New York. You're the guy who works on the floor of New York Stock Exchange. That average guy or gal makes $55,000 a year. He's not rolling in it. He's not the 1%. Suddenly he can't get to work. He's trying to make that buck to get home to his family and his kids, or his or her, kids. He can't do that now, because there's people screaming at him, telling me he's a bad person for working his butt off, being a good American. Exactly. So you're going to lose that. You're going to lose that, and Obama's going to get hurt. All
right, let me move to presidential politics. The rise of Newt in the polls. You were saying during the break you don't support Newt. Why?
I'm nonpartisan, so I don't support any candidate for office. I will vote my conscience, but I will also say this.
Well, do you support Mitt Romney?
I will say this about that. An African-American poet had a great line. It was, "Let America be America again." And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a person of standards, of merit, of substance, of good judgment, who has knowledge.
Looking for that person.
Well, you mean in terms of the Republican Party now versus the Democratic Party?
Do you like Romney? Do you like Kane? Who do you like?
I think the competitive people in the race, in terms of substance, knowledge, seasoning, experience, good judgment, would be Romney on the Republican side.
So you like Romney?
I like Romney.
I like Romney. He's a good guy.
I didn't say I was going to vote for him, but I like him.
I think I'm going to wait for the other 500 debates to actually happen before I make my decision. But, I think we've got some good candidates out there, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the course of the next few months.
Do you think Newt, for example, I mean, these poll numbers have gone up dramatically. His debate performances have been great. I also think that
contributes.
I think that contributed a lot. I think Romney's done well. I also think Santorum and Michelle Bachmann have done well as well. But they're not as close in the polls. Herman Cain's taken a hit. Is it going to be Newt versus Romney?
Well, a couple of weeks ago we said it would have been Cain versus Romney. Before that was Perry versus Romney. Now it's Newt versus Romney. I think Romney's going to be there at the end, no matter what happens. I personally think this run by Newt right now has substance. I think he stays up there because he is so intelligent. And, sure, he made a few gaffes in the last decade or two, but I think people are overlooking that, seeing the experience. We need somebody in there right now like him.
Also help balance the budget, bring about a balanced budget. People forgot. I mean, he's a very smart. He was the architect of the Republican victory in '94.
I think Americans are looking for a real commander-in-chief to replace the traveler-in-chief. The traveler-in-chief who always bashing America. I think that's the case. But if the Republicans make a mistake, they get the traveler-in-chief back in as commander-in-chief.
But they're looking for someone who's smart, someone who has ideas, and not the same old rhetoric, and not the same old...
Is Newt the smartest guy up there?
Absolutely. And he has a Tea Party behind him. He has a Tea Party vote, which makes him... He could beat Obama. I mean, because of that vote.
No chance.
No chance.
No chance. No chance with him. He's occupying Hannity right now.
Thanks for being with us. Greta's next. We'll see you tomorrow night.